Season 26 of Apex is here, so today I'm going to be reacting to some early gameplay footage and letting you guys know what I think as a professional Apex Legends coach as to how it's going to affect the game in the future and what you should be expecting going into this new season. For those of you who aren't familiar with me or this channel, what's up guys, I'm Dishrect. I'm a professional Apex coach for 5 years. I've worked with all sorts of players from noobs to pro, and with this being one of the biggest Apex updates that we've seen in a long time, there's a lot of new content and gameplay changes to go through. But before we do, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and if you want to get better at Apex, consider booking a coaching session with me. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. Alright, so hop-ups. As of right now, there are no more hop-ups on the ground, and instead they're going to be built into pretty much any of the guns that will be able to take them. Now, instead of finding them, you're instead going to have to shoot your way up to activate them. In general, I think this is going to be a really great change because before, guns would be completely useless unless you actually found that hop-up. For example, there might be some days where you're looking to run Prowler Select Fire because it's just super powerful, but because you can't find a Select Fire, you're just running around all day with a Prowler, and maybe that's just not really the type of gun that you like to play with. Or you're looking for a Select Fire for your charge rifle, and now you have to wait to shoot an hour before it actually gets a shot off. So in general, it's just going to make playing those types of guns significantly easier. Also, being able to level up a gun with just 300 to 500 damage is really nice. That's basically getting anywhere from like 2 to 3 knocks or like 5 shield breaks depending on the type of shield that you're dealing with. And something really cool, depending on what gun you're trying to level up for the hop-up, this could really incentivize or encourage you playing a certain way. So for example, if a gun maybe like a G7 or a longbow or a sentinel came with a hop-up, we might start seeing a lot more fights taking place at range instead of people just constantly full sending with shotguns or SMGs all the time. Or maybe if your gun is an SMG that does actually take a hop-up, then it might actually start encouraging you, if this isn't your play style already, to start trying to take more up-close fights so that you can be consistently leveling up that weapon. Regardless, I think it's going to be encouraging a lot more play styles, so fights should start to feel less forced in a lot of situations, and there should, to some degree, be a little bit more of a cadence almost to how fights are going to be playing out. You also might start noticing that players, especially in the beginning of their matches, might be a little bit more passive or hesitant to push until they've leveled up that weapon enough. Now, the new Elite hop-up, as of right now, sounds like it's only currently on the RE45, and in the future, it's going to be rotating. I think in general, this is going to be a good change simply because we'll have more rotating care pack type of weapons that you can work towards earning. However, the only issue I see with having like a very broken quote-unquote elite or meta weapon is that we're going to find a lot of people who are trying to abuse this to some degree. Just like how last season we had Devotion and every Ash, Ballistic, and Altar were running double Devotions, I think now we're going to have a lot of people landing on weapon arsenals off the beginning of the game, grabbing an RE45 and doing everything they can to level it up so that they can just be shooting constant laser beams. In my opinion, there's 2 really good ways that they could go about balancing this. One would be if they made it so that this really powerful hop-up required a ton of damage, anywhere from maybe like 1,000 to 2,000 damage to be able to earn this would be amazing. Or they could balance it by making it very hard to use. Just like how some weapons are very difficult to use. For instance, the Flatline versus the R3. Flatline has more recoil, but it hits significantly harder. They could make it so that these elite weapons have faster rate of fires or are used in different ways. Maybe they deal more damage or they turn into a burst weapon, but to balance it, they might do something like smaller magazine capacities. Now, another really big change, maybe not massive, but a very good quality of life change for competitive integrity, they're changing the Accelerator hop-up. For those of you who maybe don't remember, don't know what it is, the Accelerator hop-up basically gives you more Evo points towards your shield for damage that you land on players. For example, if you were playing the G7 and the G7 had the Accelerator hop-up, you would get more Evo points from hitting G7 shots than you would from hitting longbow shots or 30-30 shots. Now, the change that they're making is that if you had that weapon before on your body, let's just say you're holding a G7, but in the moment you're shooting your car would give extra Evo points because you had a G7. They've changed this so that now you're only going to get that extra Evo if you're actually using that one specific weapon, which is really nice because a lot of people would pick up one of those accelerated weapons and then find a weapon that they can use to easily farm damage, and they would gather a lot of Evo points really easily that way. Also, LMG's got nerfed, so fuck all you ballistic crutches. Now, one major change that they're making to the game right now is that there's no more helmets. Now that there's no more helmets in the game, they're instead switching over over to an amp style. This basically means that you're not going to have to wait until the end game to get those big buffs, and instead you're going to be able to find these amps off the ground off drop, if I'm not mistaken. This means that as early as round 1, you might be walking around with possibly red shield, depending on how you get your amp and how you go about playing your match. Now, I'm not too sure how easy it will be to find these amps, but this is a really good change in general because it's going to give a lot more ways to take fights and to cater to specific playstyles. The first amp is the infinite ammo, which costs 2 slots, which in this case is basically nothing because most of your guns is going to be using more than 2 slots anyways in your backpack. So this really is not a sacrifice in any way whatsoever. Now, having infinite ammo is really going to encourage a lot more steady or supportive playstyles inside of gunfights. Because you do have infinite ammo, a lot of people I know, who especially people who like to play zone, who are poking a lot, or people who are holding zones or buildings or areas are going to be able to poke a lot because they're going to have infinite ammo. The over armor amp is going to be giving you an extra 25 shield, so there's no change here other than the fact that you won't have reduced headshot damage from the helmet, which I do really like because we want to reward those headshots. With a red helmet, if you were to pick it up, it doesn't matter if you're on white shield, purple shield, or blue shield. As soon as you pick up that helmet, you are given instantly maximum shield at 125 HP. The amp, though, only gives you an extra 25 shield. So if you're on white shield, you're basically playing on blue. This would be an amp that I would see a lot of people who like to play very aggressive, mostly controller players, because aggression typically comes from playing up close, where you can force a lot of damage because, well, you're forcing people to be stuck in front of you. The reason why I say this would be more catered probably towards controller players is because with being aggressive means you're also going to be taking extra damage. Forcing players to fight you means that you're also forcing yourself to take more damage in return. And for a mouse and keyboard player, it can be really easy to swing into a fight, make a very aggressive play, and then use some type of movement to work your way out of that fight. Controller players, unless they're using a legend that has good movement capabilities like Ashe, Wraith, Pathfinder, Octane, Revenant, Horizon, those controller players, for the most part, are going to have a hard time once they get in, finding their way out. So having an extra 25 HP means that when you do make those swings, you'll either have a little bit of extra HP to work with, or you'll have that extra 25 HP so that you can commit to that fight even harder. All in all, the over armor amp I can see is going to be used for people who like to play in general more aggressive, or people who like to commit to their fights a lot harder. The third amp is the power booster amp, which reduces the attack and ultimate cooldown and gives you an extra attack for every knock, which is super good. Sub-legends who are super strong are being balanced by ability cooldowns. So for instance, Pathfinder used to be very, very strong because he could get his tactical back all the time, and EA has been constantly nerfing him, dragging out his cooldown so that you couldn't use it as much, meaning you can't make as many crazy aggressive plays. There's a lot of other legends who've been nerfed or who are being controlled in that way also. So by using the power booster amp, you can reduce that cooldown, meaning you can be using your abilities significantly more often. In higher tier lobbies or even in Pro League, this would be very, very strong amp to be holding because it doesn't require you to hold back on using your abilities for a very specific or chaotic situation. An example of this would be something very simple like your Bangalore team who needs to, 1, push through a very open, vulnerable space, and then 2, once you've made that push, swinging a team to take their position and wipe them out of the game. With reduced cooldowns, this might actually help you be able to do both things instead of choosing if you're only going to do one or the other, because you're going to get your abilities back sooner, and if you're able to pick up a knock, it's going to replenish all of your abilities at the same time. The overflow healing amp is also an insanely broken ability. Now you basically don't need to be carrying bats anymore. Bats are really hard to find, they're not the easiest to get crafted, and unless you have a gold backpack, they can also take up a lot of space. With the overflow healing app, you can basically pop one cell or one syringe and it will fully heal you over time. Granted, I'm pretty sure you don't take damage, but basically this is really broken because you can be passively healing while doing other things like picking up your teammates, reloading your weapons, or more importantly, moving in or away from fights. So imagine this, you're 50 HP and you need to take 5 seconds to pop a battery, but you're being swung. If you choose to heal first, you're going to get pushed on and then they're going to kill you. But if you run first with no HP, you're going to be moving through the open and it's really easy to get knocked in that situation. With the overflow healing amp, you pop a shield cell, and as you're moving from cover to cover, you are passively healing while doing that. You could also probably pair this with things like movement abilities. So for instance, you might hit a wall jump, and then off the wall jump, hit a bunny hop and carry your momentum while popping that shield cell, which is constantly healing you. You might hit a gravity cannon while it's constantly healing you. You can't heal on zip lines, but if you pop a cell and then ride the zip line, you're passively healing while moving away from teams. There's so many ways that you could use the overflow healing amp to get you in or out of fights in a situation where you would previously have to hold yourself back. So this is going to give you the chance to do things that you want to do more consistently, even when you don't have health to do it. Now, the last but certainly not least amp that was added to Apex this season is the bottomless bats. This is also, in my opinion, a really good one because I personally carry anywhere from 4 to 6 bats per game, but with bottomless bats, you'll get more backpack space and you can aggressively poke and take fights knowing that you will never run out of HP. Bottomless bats is going to be an amp used mostly from teams who are holding their positions or people who like to take ranged fights. This is going to make ranged fights or playing zone or a position that you don't want to be leaving from. Bottomless bats is going to make it so that you can constantly be poking at people and you don't need to worry about losing HP. What we might start seeing a lot in really high tier rank games, depending on how this rank season plays, and we will definitely be seeing this in Pro League, we're going to be seeing people dropping their amps for their teammates so that they can get the benefits out of it. We're going to have players who are anchoring, and with that, they're going to be in charge of doing a lot of poking damage. Now, if you can only carry one amp at a time, we'll probably find that one player is carrying infinite ammo. As he starts taking damage, he might either drop his shield for the player who has infinite batteries, or what we might see is they'll swap amps. That way, whoever is poking can pick up the amp and then heal his shields, trade the amp back with the other person, and now they will have everything back to square one as if they never spent any ammo or they never spent any heals. I think the fact that you're able to pick up and drop amps means that we are going to see so many crazy ways to play. There's going to be so many ways that we can abuse this. There's going to be so many ways that we can work around issues that this might make us face. And there's going to be so many different ways that we can get creative to make some very insane aggressive plays. Now, as for ranked updates, probably the biggest change that we have ever seen to ranked is this new forced POI drop, which basically means that when every rank match starts, you don't get to start in the dropship and choose where you're going to fly and drop into, but instead, Apex is now going to force you to drop into a specific POI at the very start of every match, which means that everyone drops at the same time. This, at its core, is an amazing change that I think everyone is going to absolutely hate at first, but we're going to slowly fall in love with it. The biggest issue right now with ranked in Season 25 in previous seasons is that people are too stupid. And by this, basically what I mean is that you're going to get teammates who either don't know how or when to drop, so you end up landing really late and you die. Teammates who don't know how to stretch across the map to land in a very specific POI that is very far away. You're going to have situations where, because you want to stretch for a POI that's really far away, people who chose to drop in the early portion of the dropship are going to land first, loot first, get kills first, and rotate before you even start getting kills or rotating yourself, which means that you're already at a major setback. Another major issue is that before we would have teammates who, especially if you were solo queuing, would choose to land on 3 or 4 other teams in a POI. You would get no loot and you would instantly die off drop. Or you get teammates who only drops in one spot and doesn't know how to fight anywhere else off drop, basically making them crutch a very specific POI. But now, having a random POI forced on you means that you'll have to learn way more POIs, making each game more unique. I think a lot of people are going to hate this at first because you might get a POI that you don't really enjoy, but that could simply be because you've just never played there before, or you don't play there that much, so you can't appreciate how that POI plays. Stream sniping will be way harder now also if you are a pro player or a content creator, because now people can't choose to land on you even if they wanted to. They're going to be forced to land somewhere else, and it's going to be complete RNG if they even get to see you in that match. Another major thing is that you won't be getting 5 teams in the same POI. Because everyone is forced to land in different spots, you may at the very most only see 1 team in your POI. You may also not even be contested, which means that you might get to get a couple kills off drop, or you might get to loot completely for free off drop. Because of this, games are going to feel way more consistently paced out because you're not going to have a match where the entire lobby lands in the first half of the map and then only 2 teams land on the opposite side. Some games in previous seasons, you could play the entire game and never see anyone until the end game. And other games, you might land off drop and feel like you are constantly fighting because everyone chose to land in the same area as you. Now, aside from forcing the dropship changes, they're also reducing the amount of RP you get for kills. I know personally, even when I have 15 kills and assists and it's round 2 or 3, I still just want to keep running around and getting more kills. So by reducing those points or even capping how many kills will give you points, meaning in previous seasons we've had once you get 5 kills, every other kill you get doesn't actually give you any points. It's basically worthless. Because of this, we're going to start seeing, hopefully, that our end games are way more full and actually thought out. This is going to hopefully bring Apex back to what it was like in Season 7 or the old days, where you could have anywhere from 4 to 6 teams in the last couple rings of a match, making it very strategic and very difficult and very entertaining to watch and play through. Right now, as it stands, the current meta is simply kill them, and that's it. That's the strat. I'm sure this isn't going to change a lot, but we are 100% going to start seeing at least 2 to 3 more teams in our end games. Now, there's only been 2 major legend changes this season as of right now. There could be some other changes coming in some patch notes that I haven't read myself or that just haven't really been publicized just yet. But the first major change is to Caustic. Caustic has some major buffs, but are they going to make him meta? That's the real question. One of the first changes is that there's no aim assist in Caustic gas, which means that this is very, very strong, especially because Caustic is best used up close. So being able to disable players' aim assist, especially if you're a mouse and keyboard player, is very broken. It's going to instantly give you better aim if you are playing in PC lobbies. Now in console, this is just really going to kind of make it very difficult for everyone to play. In console lobbies or PC controller players, I don't know if we're going to really see that many Caustic players. Also, being able to earn all 4 of your perks, which would be 1 extra trap and 2 extra traps that are placed, passive healing and gas, a 300% recharge speed on your abilities, and increased range of your ultimate's gas by 50%, having all 4 of your perks means that Caustic in the end game specifically is going to be a very controlling legend. In Ranked and Pro League, we might start to see him used a lot because he's going to be able to cover and control a ton of space, and he's going to be able to do it very easily at the same time. This is even more true, especially because he's able to reset the cooldown on passive abilities like the Ash Dash and the Sparrow Jump, meaning quick attacks in and quick bounces out is not going to be as easy and making it way harder to take him out of a gunfight because he's going to be constantly slowing you down. Don't forget that Caustic is also fortified, which means that he gets extra HP. He also has an extra 25 HP when he's in zone because he's a control legend. And now as a bonus, he stuns your movement, forcing you to walk in his gas. He has better visibility in his own gas, and you also can't see his HP while you're missing shots without aim assist. So as of right now, going into Season 26, Caustic is going to be a must play, especially if you are on PC, MNK, and especially if you prioritize placement and controlling zones in the endgame. Now, as for Bangalore, the electric smoke, which breaks tacticals like Watson fences, Caustic traps, Newcastle shield, rampart walls, etc., and does 100 damage to ultimates, is going to make Bang one of the best legends for pushing teams who are playing defensively. So if you're shitting on a team and trying to push, but they're all fortified up in a building, no problem. You're taking all of that defense down instantly with your electric smokes. Her new Karumi perk also has passive healing for teammates when last season it was just herself. This is also nice, but in general, the passive healing is super slow and not that strong. So I don't think this is going to be getting picked as much from Bangalore mains, simply because it just doesn't even compare to her other option, which gives her way more ability to play in gunfights. Bang's purple upgrades making her ult destroy all nearby deployables basically makes her a walking crypto drone. My only question here with this, because I haven't seen it myself, is does her Bangalore ult have to make contact with the deployable, or is it whatever is is in range is what gets destroyed. If you can throw a barrage at a building and remove everything inside of that building, that would be so insanely overpowered. If not, then in general, she's just really strong. Her new Medal of Honor perk, letting her get faster revives, is also really strong. You're going to notice trying to finish Bangalore teams in smoke is going to be very tough because you won't be able to see them revive, and it will be very quick. You're also going to be constantly getting held back by visibility issues and by her Rolling Thunder ultimate. So from an offensive and defensive perspective, Bangalore and Caustic are going to be insanely strong this season, and you're really going to be encouraged to be pushing teams and holding them back in the end games. Now, that's all the information that I personally have right now on the new season. I think going into season 26, we are going to find that this is probably one of the best seasons that we have ever played, and I'm very excited to see where Apex goes from here, because it seems like, especially recently, Apex has just been putting out banger after banger after banger updates. If you found my thoughts on this new season somewhat interesting or entertaining or informative, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so that you can keep getting better at Apex Legends. If you want to get coaching, make sure to check out the link in the description down below, and I will see you guys in season 26.